Okay, on the back side, there's only 6 problems, so this video will be a lot quicker. But if you're going to find all the factors, obviously you'd have to check through the square root. So if you're looking for prime factorization, kind of the same idea. If you're not sure, you'd have to check all the prime numbers that go in there. So eventually here you would get 19 gets in there, and then another 19. And then there's a 23. And again, you would use a calculator and something like this. This one, again, you'd have to check all the numbers through the square root, which seems like a daunting task. But again, remember, you have all those divisibility tests that rule everything out. So this one will end up being prime when you check all the way. This one, when you get the square root to figure out how far you have to check, it actually is a perfect square, which makes that kind of nice. And then this one, if we did prime factorization, probably the easiest thing to do would be like your 2 times 2 times 2, and then your 10,000, and then do your powers of 10 and break those into 2s and 5s and so forth. But eventually this one should be 2 to the 7th, 5 to the 4th. And it is composite, obviously, and composite and composite. Over here, you want to know if this answer could be divisible by 19 or 23. So if you think of this, if you divide this answer by 19, it would go in there 23 times with a remainder of 1. If you turn that around, vice versa, it'd be the same thing. You could divide by 19 the answer to this by 19, get a remainder of 1, take the answer to this, divide by 23, get a remainder of 1, right? So it's forcing that to have an answer of 1 if you divide by either one of those on that one. Let's see, let's keep going. Okay, why don't we say greatest common multiple? Well, multiples go forever, so the greatest common multiple would always be infinity because it would never end. Least common factor would be super boring because it would always be 1. On this one, what's the greatest common factor? So greatest common factor is, if we did a Venn diagram, it's, you know, kind of in the middle there, what they have in common, which would be 3 2s and 2 3s. So that would be what would be in the middle there that they would have in common. Least common multiple would be everything in the Venn diagram, so that would end up being 2 to the 5th, 3 to the 4th, 5, and 7. And again, you don't do any double counting there. We did the one lab where you can take the highest power of each thing. That works too. And then here, what they have in common, or the lowest power of each thing. You could do that as well. All right, so this one, it's talking about when would they be together. So probably the way kids would do this is list it out and say, oh, you know, at 24, that's the first time they be together, 48, and so forth. If you did least common multiple, did prime factorization, the LCM is all of these. Greatest common factor would be 4 times the extra stuff. Least common multiple, so then it would just be multiples of that. And again, they wanted the first 4 times, I think, that the drum would be together. And lastly, we have birds must be fed 12 cups and 20 cups of millet every day. And they want a container for scooping both. So they're not looking for a container to hold both. They're looking for a container that actually would scoop both. And so they need 12 cups of the one, 20 cups of the other. So again, a 1 cup scoop would be kind of repetitive. So the greatest common factor here is 4. So meaning if you had a 4 cup scoop, then they could scoop both of them with. They would need 4 cups. So then if they're doing the 12 cup, which is the what? That's a sunflower seed. They need to use it 3 times for the sunflower seeds, right? Which again is that extra factor. And then they would only need to do it 5 times for the millet, I think it is. Not millet. So then they're not sitting there, you know, scooping out 1 cup at a time. So again, they're asking what is the biggest cup that they could use, or scoop they could use for both kinds. And again, that's a greatest common factor question.